No, it would not be a Garett the Gamer stream without issues, would it, boys? Oh, gosh, I was looking for a cable. I need to find this or else my headphones are going to die. Welcome back, everybody, to the Practically Reality podcast. My name is Garett. I am here with my buddy Declan. We're going to be talking about some gaming and tech news today. We do this podcast every Tuesday live at 1 p.m. Pacific time, so if you want to catch us live, you can catch us there. Or we are now a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. So, if you guys want to catch us later in the week, please go check us out there. As always, I'm joined by Declan.
Woo! Hey, everybody, what's up?
Oh.
I blow your eardrums up?
No, I'm trying to figure out if I recorded it earlier and it sounded good, but chat, let us know. Let us know how it sounded.
Last time I talked for like 30 minutes and nobody could hear me. Garrett told me to entertain everybody, so I was like telling a story and it was just dead silent.
So the issue is, literally in the amount of time we've done this podcast, which we've done it, what, is this our third episode? We're on episode 3?
Episode 3, baby.
I've literally used a different computer every episode. I am on, yet again, another computer. So, my bad.
That's awesome.
Oh, this is
crazy.
Dude, like, do you have like a ton of crap in your office like I do? Like,
I do. I don't know if you can see all these frisbees back here.
But that looks nice. Like that's like clean and like organized. Like, just look at the hellhole that is my desk back there. There's hats, there's books, there's the cup. Like, I keep trying to organize my office, and I'm struggling to find something that actually like stays organized. It's been bad, dude.
Yeah.
How many PCs do I have?
At least it's not like Asmongold. I don't know if you know who that is, but he lives in filth. So.
Oh, Asmongold Clips on Twitch? Yeah. He's funny. But, dude, that's kind of the funny thing. I feel like on Twitch right now, that's like kind of the style. Everyone wants not very polished. Like Queso and like Asmon, they just talk from like 720 pixel camera. They're just
No, I respect it, man.
It's awesome.
It's so different now than it used to be. It's pretty cool. I don't know. I feel like forever it felt so challenging to even get into any of it because everybody that was big had these like perfect setups and like all these cool lighting effects and always spent thousands of bucks on their things. And now you got people like not Twitch. What's his name? I can't even remember his name. Shoot. The Hello Brother, whatever that guy's name is.
Oh, Sketch?
What's his name? Sketch. Yeah, Sketch. And Jinxie, and all those guys, and Queso. They're like the big streamers, right? And they all are like, low tech.
Just chilling.
Just doing what they do.
Just chilling.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't know. It's kind of funny with like especially in the VR world. I feel like we're seeing something similar, where it's like people don't love the high polished games. Like they're loving these indie looking. I mean, like Gorilla Tag is the #1 game, and it looks like, no offense, crap. Like that is not a good game. But hey, it's a good game. It's fun. I can't be too mad about it.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's fun, I think that's the most important thing. And it kind of goes along with what we talked about last week. I'm not going to jump into anything yet, but just like the whole graphics thing, like people don't care about that anymore. I feel like people don't want hyper reality. They want kind of a stylized game. And even if the style is dookie, it's still a style,
No, I feel like it's like one of those what do you call it, a pendulum, where it's like you can only swing it so far to one side before it's gonna automatically swing itself back. I feel like that's true. Gaming world, we're in that swing back where people are like, we don't care about graphics, make the game actually fun, and we'll see where that takes us. That'll be interesting. Be interesting.
Did you play any fun games this weekend?
Ooh, what was I playing? So.
I played Marines too. I saw that.
I played Space Marines. That was something, dude. That game was something. I made the mistake of playing it on Angel of Death mode, which is their highest difficulty. So that was fantastic. Good way to start that out.
Fun experience, I'm sure.
Oh, but like it's fun, dude. Like IGN did a funny review on it. Did you see their review at all? Like,
No, I didn't.
So basically, their review was like, it's clunky, it's like weird, like it doesn't feel smooth. To which one of my favorite TikTok people, his name is, gosh dang it, Nate Weebler or something like that. He came back and he was like, that's the point. You're supposed to feel like a space marine, and you freaking do, dude. Like, it was impressive. Like, the haptics and stuff they have, you feel like a space marine just marching through halls, annihilate. It's good. Like, it's solid. I got stuck on a level, and chat saw me rage quit, because I was just like, no. I literally did it, like, 17 times in a row, and I was like, I can't get past this on Angel of Death. I gotta regroup. It was, like, 2 hours into the stream as well. So I was like, no,
I feel like, I don't know. I've never gotten into like Warhammer at all. The most Warhammer I've ever done is the Warhammer role-playing game. So I haven't done like the miniature parts and all that jazz. More of the super nerdy side of it than, I guess. Well, I would say probably like fantasy is probably nerdier than Space Marines, right?
I feel like Space Marines is space fantasy, though. It's literally space fantasy. There's orcs, there's gods, and there's magic. Like,
that's true.
I don't know.
I don't know much about that world. I should get into it more.
Okay,
I'm worried that if I do, I'll buy a like 5 billion minis.
You will. I know you. You will. No, so okay. If you want to get into 40K, and this is for everyone in the chat as well. If you want to like, this is your gateway drug into 40K. Go on YouTube and watch Astartes. All 5 parts put together. It's got like 13 million views. It's the coolest short film ever, and that's what got me hooked on Space Marines. Astartes. It's so good. Such a good short film made by one guy. So incredible. It gets you introduced to the lore of like 40K. So you watch that, and then you watch the breakdown video of a guy explaining it, like what everything means in it, because it's super lore accurate. That was my gateway drug into 40K, but
that's cool.
It's a good time.
I mean, I've heard good things about it. I used to go to tons of like board game stores and all that stuff, and I know people that have tons of minifigs, but I just have never taken the time. I mean, I feel it's like one of those things, if you're gonna get into it, you have to spend hours playing with the minifigs and painting things, and so it's one of those things where maybe one day I will, just not quite there yet.
I mean, literally the video that I watched, that was a like a Warhammer lore basic edition overview. Yeah, it was 4 hours long. Like the basics of the lore took like 4 hours to get through. But
that's crazy.
It's a good time, dude. Like the art style in that game and everything, like it feels like the minifigures. It's such a fun art style. They did a really good job with like, I'm sorry, but it's been a minute since I played like a fun gore game. Like it feels like Halo mixed with Doom Eternal. Like that's the best way I could describe it. It's a lot of fun.
So, would you compare it to the other game that we were playing?
Helldivers?
Yeah.
So chat was asking me this a bunch when I was playing it live. They're like, how does it compare to Helldivers? And I'm like, they're 2 different games. Like Space Marines is very much like a co-op campaign. Like it's very very much like driven in a certain direction. It's not like Helldivers is nice because it's way more open. It's way more like geared towards whatever happens. Whereas this is you gotta follow this path. You gotta beat this boss. At least the part that I played. So I think they're still 2 totally different things.
It sounds a lot like some of the older games that they made, the Warhammer franchise. There are a couple of them that I have played. I'd have to look up the name of it exactly, but it's one where you're like fighting the rats. It's in the fantasy realm. You can play as like the witch, or there's a knight. You can play as like a dueler or a dwarf. I can't remember what it's called exactly. I'd have to look it up, but it was a blast. Like you just fight hordes and hordes and hordes of bad guys, and you're using a bunch of different cooldowns, and each character plays a little bit different, and then the objective is just kind of go through the story. But you can play with like 4 people. It was a lot of fun.
No, that sounds kind of exactly like that. It feels very much like it. Because like the stories of Warhammer are super fun, and like there's so much, like the lore is so interesting, such that like you can create very dynamic characters and stuff. Anyway. It's a good time. I would definitely rate that game, though, like 8 or 9 out of 10 for sure.
Really?
Yeah,
cool.
That's a good one. It's a good one.
It's hard. It's crazy. I feel like some of the campaign games that have come out recently have been like favorited by a lot of people. I don't know. I feel like for a while, people weren't playing long story-driven games, except for maybe one or two a year. With like God of War, and you'd have, I guess, Elden Ring, like all those types of things. But now I feel like over the last little bit, I've heard more about people playing solo player or multiplayer, but like co-op games instead. It just has not been a thing for a while, I feel like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think definitely a big part of that has got to be just like the amount of dev time that takes to make a campaign game. Like that is so much work. So
For sure.
And there was the whole writer's strike and everything that happened in Hollywood, which I'm sure also went over into the game dev area. So I think a lot of those really high polished, solo campaign games didn't happen because of those, and we're finally starting to see the ones that were in development getting out of development, right? So
yeah. Oh, Vermintide 2. That's what it was called. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great one.
There's some good ones. Warhammer's a fun one. I would love, like, my dream game after watching that I thought would be so fun to make. So I'd love to see a Warhammer Battlefield game. Like, open world Battlefield, multiplayer experience, but your Space Marines or, like, whatever factions else, like orcs or whatever. Just the Battlefield formula, but with a Warhammer paint job over top of it, basically.
Well, they have RTS games too. Like Warhammer does some interesting games. There's a lot of factions and stuff in Warhammer.
There's tons.
There's so many different things. So
yeah, there's like factions within the factions, and then there's like is it 4 big factions? You've got like the humans, the orcs, what are they called? I'm gonna get slayed for doing this. I'm gonna be called a heretic. But there's like a lot of fun factions. It's good lore. Yeah. It's good. Like it's a good bit, and they're very, very liberal about their like IP. So like they license it to almost anyone who asks.
That's really cool.
And so like because of that, they've created so many great things just out of sheer volume. Something's bound to hit when I license it out to that many people. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
I
played only a little bit of video games this weekend. Only a little bit. Let me find the name of the game. I didn't have a ton of time. I've been working a lot. Wild Frost is what I played.
If
you like card games, it's a fun roguelike card deck builder. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy those types of games. So
looks like it's on Steam.
Really cool. Yeah. It's on Steam, but you can also get it for iOS now.
Oh, nice.
It's like same gameplay. It's like I'm trying to remember the other super popular deck builder roguelike that came out, but it's you kind of battle against different people. You build your deck as you continue to go. Obviously, deck builder. You can get like different. You have a main character that if they die, then you lose the game. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good time. I played it on my PC and on my phone now. So
nice. It's always nice when like casual. Would you say that's more of a casual game, or is that like a sit down? You gotta.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's nice when casual games come to like iPhone because it's just more. It's just nice. It's very accessible. I think that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Very nice. Well, chat. Anything else to ask us before we jump into this week's news and crazy stuff? Because we've got some crazy stuff to talk about. There's been quite a few really interesting news things that have happened. So, speak now, chat, or forever hold your peace. Gotta wait for the 15-second buffer.
Somebody wants us to review an iPad-type competitor, Apple, whatever,
Honor
Android
Pad.
Competitor.
Honor Pad
I looked
X9.
at it. Looks cool. I don't know.
X9. I use an iPad almost every day.
Nice.
That's like what I edit all of my videos on. It's what I do a lot of like customer service stuff through.
I subscribe to the Apple Church as well.
I too am a member of the Apple Church. So it'd be interesting like what they would say their use case. I guess like their unique marketing position would be of that. Like, it looks nice. I'm looking at like videos and whatnot. Seems fine. But I don't know, man. This iPad that I use, this is the one that I use right here. Like, the best part about it is like the split view feature. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
So it's basically like multitasking windows that you can do on the iPad now. And so a lot of times I'll have like both my email answering like customer service reports from SailVR and hard drive and whatnot. I've got that going on one end, and then I've got like my web browser open so that I can actually fulfill the requests on our back end for SailVR, right?
Cool.
And so like being able to do that from an iPad, which means like I can go sit outside and do it. I can go sit like on the couch, like especially like if I'm traveling, that's been super nice. Like the iPad's been great. Like I super like it. So I'd be very, very interested to see what that unique proposition is. So might have to look into it. We shall see.
Yeah. James, neither one of us play the board game 40K. We were talking about it a little bit. I just don't have enough money. or time, I guess.
Or people to play with, let's be honest. Most importantly,
money. That's true, yeah.
Like, not only do you have to spend the money, but you also have to have another person who's also spent the money, and then you have to spend 9 hours developing, like, a campaign to be able
I'm sure I could get somebody to buy the pieces. I've played, they had a new fantasy RPG that came out. So in the last couple years, they developed a brand new 40K. Or no, it was is 40K the Space Marines exactly? I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah, so 40 Space Marines are in the 40K lore, is my understanding.
Okay. So I played the Warhammer fantasy setting, which is a lot of fun. It's like kind of lower level. There's not a ton of magic. There are a couple magical items. So as far as I remember, we didn't have like any wizards or anything in our group. I always play as an elf, and I was an elf archer, a wood elf.
Of course.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a great campaign, great setting. I love tabletop role playing games, so I would highly recommend that one. It was a lot of fun. We never got finished with it before I moved, but we played for probably 7 or 8 months, and we'd play for 8 to 9 hours every session that we'd play, like once to 2 times a month.
That's crazy, dude. I've been wanting to do a D&D campaign, like, because I've never done it. Dude. I've never done one. So.
Oh man, I after when I get another shelf, so I have my discs back here now. I have I think 80 to 90% of all the 5th edition D&D books.
Oh wow.
I collected all of the like limited print versions of them. I love D&D.
It's cool. It's been growing on me. It's been growing on me. Especially I listened to the Distractable podcast with Markiplier and Bob and Wade.
Okay.
Yeah. And they do a lot of like mini D&D sessions as part of their episodes that are really funny. And I also listen to what's the other one? The Legends of Adventures. They're like a podcast as well, and they're just funny. I just feel like it could be such a funny like improv type thing. But
so I fell in love with D&D. My father-in-law invited me to play, and then I watched a lot of what's it called? Critical Role. Critical Role. I watched the whole first campaign, most of the second campaign, and I'm admittedly a little bit behind on the third campaign. Critical Role is so good though. But if you want like an underrated D&D thing to watch, look up. Do you know what College Humor is? You've seen College Humor.
Yeah, I've seen College Humor.
They have a D&D group that plays too, and it is so good.
That's awesome.
It is. And it's like crazy. They take themes they did like Game of Thrones, but they made it into Candyland type thing. So it's usually just like 8 or 9 episodes, and they're not super long each, but it's like crazy premises, and it's, I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun. I think their DM, Brendan Lee Mulligan, is one of my favorite DMs to watch. I think he's hilarious. Everybody like loves Matt Mercer, but Brendan Lee Mulligan is crazy good DM. I think I would, if I could sit down and play with one DM, it'd be him.
Okay. Jeez, chat has some of the funniest questions for us right now. It's an admin asking, "Yo, would you rather eat a PS4 controller or a PS5 controller?" I mean, I'm gonna go with PS4 just because PS5 controllers are a little expensive these days, man.
I think all the extra like switches and stuff in there would make it less convenient. I feel like PS4 controllers probably have less like hardware inside of it, so it'd be a little bit less of a snack.
Too a little less. We're on that slim diet, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Keep things thin.
Trying to cut back.
Ooh, best Xbox 360 game from Switchy Box. He's asking, what's the best 360 game? Did you play 360?
60. Yeah. Man. I took a 360 to college with me. And
that was your first mistake.
Actually, I didn't play my 360 a ton. That's when I was into the League of Legends world and was grinding.
Oh, yeah, you were crazy on that.
For 3 days straight. I mean, I didn't sleep a lot in college. There were periods where I'd play for 72 hours without sleeping, just living off of Monster. And, yeah, just Mountain Dew Voltage. I can't drink Mountain Dew Voltage anymore. It gives me heartburn. I'm an old guy because I probably drink like a 36-pack every single week.
No, it's wild.
Yeah, it was nuts. I'm surprised I'm still alive.
You're a medical marvel. It's what you are. Nah, dude, for me, like, I still play the 360. We have it up at my parents'. My parents have a ranch up in a little town in Utah. And we still have the 360 up there with Halo 3 on it. And, oh my gosh, it is so fun to go up there and just play split screen 4-player Halo 3. Just on Sandtrap and Guardian and whatnot. Like, oh my gosh, the nights that, like, the nostalgia I have from, like in high school we did like a literal 20v20 like system link one night. Awesome. It was so fun, dude. Like one of the best times we had. Just everyone smashed into this room, TVs on every wall. We had a projector on the ceiling. Awesome. Like it was crazy. It was so much fun. But yeah, just because of that nostalgia, I gotta say like Halo 3 was just so great because those were just some of the best times of those LAN parties, man. Something I miss. Something I miss for sure.
I'm more of the Halo 1, Halo 2 era. I played that a lot with my dad and his friends and my friends growing up. And underrated Ghost Recon 2.
Yeah.
Underrated game. So much fun.
Such a good one. That's a great one. I forgot about Ghost Recon.
Yeah. It was freaking lit back in the day. Kind of sucks now, but
yeah. That's kind of did you hear the drama, like to start getting into some of our topics? Did you hear the whole drama about the Ghost Recon they're going to make for VR? Okay.
Oh, I heard they were doing something with it, but I never heard what happened.
So, this would have been 2021, 2020. Meta comes out and announces all this incredible IP. They say GTA San Andreas is coming to VR. They say Ghost Recon is coming to VR. Yeah. Basically give this great lineup. And since then, almost all of the projects have gotten canceled. Like, just straight up canceled. Like, we haven't heard anything. They officially announced that Ghost Recon was canceled. They weren't going to do it. They weren't going to do Splinter Cell.
That's crazy.
Right? Like, but...
they're doing Splinter Cell, though?
No, they canceled Splinter Cell. That's what it was supposed to be.
Oh.
Or Ghost Recon, and then there was Splinter Cell, and then what was the other one? Gosh dang it, I forget. Anyway, it's just sad, man, because, like... They now have the new Batman game that's coming out. Have you seen that Arkham Shadows that's coming to VR? That looks awesome. I'm really excited about that.
Until it gets canceled?
It can't. At this point, it can't, bro. They say it's coming out later this month. So if it gets canceled at this point, like we're really in the dirt there. Good Gandhi.
I wanted to say I was thinking about video games again still that I would bring back. Somebody else asked that question and put in VR. I know it's not like a forgotten IP. Like there's still people that love it, but Star Fox growing up on Star Fox 64 is one of my favorite games. I love Star Fox, and I am so upset that they haven't made any like Star Fox IP since the Wii U. Like they had the Starlink Battle for Atlas. If you bought it on the Nintendo Switch, you could get a small 2 or 3 mission Star Fox campaign, but like there's no Star Fox games, and I think Star Fox would be dope in VR. And then another just game I want them to bring back anyway, which they are bringing back. I saw an announcement for it. Is Jet Set Radio. I don't know if you've ever played that, but it is. Radio. Yeah, dude, it is such a crazy Like the
Oh,
whole
what
concept is nuts. The music is beautiful. The style is crazy. It still looks good. Somebody made a
Super
kind of
stylized.
a predecessor to it, like I guess like a spiritual predecessor
Uh-huh.
called Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. It's made by Reptile something studio. They're the ones that make that game where it's like a fighting game where you hit the ball back at each other, hit the ball back and forth, and if you get hit by the ball, then you die. It's a
Uh,
fighting game though,
uh.
like really innovative. But yeah, they made Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and it looks the same. They got the same musician to do all the sound for it. The music in the game is so good. Jet Set Radio Future was my favorite game for the original Xbox. I had a combo pack that was a racing game and Jet Set
Oh,
Radio
wow.
Future, and it was made by Atari. And Jet Set Radio was good. Jet Set Radio Future was a reimagination of the IP,
Uh-huh.
and it just made it even better. So it was crazy good.
Huh. Yeah,
So I would 10 out
that's
of
a
10
good-
recommend. Atari's bringing it back though.
Interesting. It's like it looks like kind of open world. Is that what I'm seeing? What is the premise of this game? I'm like kind of confused.
So you are a skater, right?
Uh-huh.
You have your little skate crew. The Tokyo police or Tokyoto, I think is what it's called. The police are kind of authoritarian. So you're the skating crew that's trying to take down the police force, and you spray paint graffiti murals all over the place to kind of fight the police officers. You get in fights with the police, and then you spray paint the police officers to take them down. Like, it's a very anti-authoritarian game, but it is so good.
Rebel
Man,
Simulator.
oh dude, it is. I listen to the soundtrack from that video game like weekly for sure. It's one of the best games I've ever played in my life, and not enough people talk about it. And I'm stoked that Atari's making it again. They announced it when they announced like the remake of Crazy Taxi and all
Whoa.
that stuff.
Oh, Crazy Taxi. There's a blast to the past.
Yeah,
Goodness.
they're remaking all those old IPs, man.
Wow.
Atari had a huge announcement with that.
I feel like there's a lot of. You were telling me last week that like the backyard
Yeah,
stuff
Backyard
is coming
Sports.
back. Like that's huge. I kind of love. It's like a love-hate relationship though with like bringing stuff back because like in one sense you want to preserve
Yeah.
that like nostalgia, but then at the other sense it's
memory.
like man, like we desperately need good games. Why not revive all the good stuff?
Yeah. Well, like with Jet Set Radio Future, you can't buy it. There's nowhere to buy it. I've tried to buy it legally. You have to buy an Xbox, and then even finding a copy of it is so hard. So I have it on a ROM on my computer
Oh, what
with
the?
a Xbox, like an Xbox emulator. So I play it on my computer, but 10 out of 10 would recommend. So I've played it probably 9 or 10 different times now.
Dang. Okay. All right. Well, there you go, chat. Jet Set Radio. Go
Yeah,
check
we
it
went
out.
on a nice side tangent there. The
Side
Arsonist
quest.
Fire Clan said they like it.
Hey, that's what we're here for. We're here for chat. Well, speaking of, where do we start this week, dude? With all the news we've had, where do we even go? This has been a crazy week of gaming.
Let's talk about the lawsuit.
Oh man. Okay. So, to catch everyone up to speed, I posted about this today on Garett the Gamer. So, Nintendo and Pokemon Company have officially joined forces to go up against Pal World. So, Pal World is officially in a lawsuit with Nintendo and Pokemon Company for infringement on patented gameplay mechanics that Nintendo has for Pokemon. This is kind of a scary one, dude. Like, I agree. For one, the premise of this lawsuit is that game mechanics can be owned by studios.
Yep.
Which is like, yes, it is possible. I don't know if you know the game Shadow of War. Did you ever play that one, the Lord of the Rings Shadow of War?
I was gonna say the same thing. I love Lord of the Rings, and
So good.
love the mechanic that they have, and I'm so sad that nobody else is ever going to be able to use it.
Right. Yeah, like that is a perfect example of what this lawsuit could cause issues with is Like, what's patented about the Shadow of War game is their reputation system, I believe is what it's called. What do they call it? They have a thing for it.
It's the Nemesis system.
Nemesis, that's what it was. And it is completely patented. And that was the whole system driving the ability to, like, recruit people, to build armies, go up against other systems, all driven by AI and NPCs and whatnot. Phenomenal. Made that game infinitely replayable. Such a fun, just, man, I loved it. Loved it. But no,
I've never beat Shadow of Mordor. I think that's the first one, right? I've never beat it.
Shadow of Mordor, and the second one is Shadow of War.
I just wanted to kill everybody in Sauron's army. And that's the whole Nemesis system. Like, I just played for probably days just trying to do that. And, yeah, nobody else can do that now. It's so crazy. I feel like Watch Dogs had that one game where they tried to make characters from NPCs. So, like, if you took over a character and put them in your group or whatever, they became a playable character instead of an NPC. That's what this reminds me of. Like the Nemesis system where the orcs and Orcai, you have to fight them. If you lose to them, then they become an important character and they have a vendetta against you. And then in Shadow of War, if you kill them sometimes, they come back to life and they have a vendetta against you. They just become like important characters in the game if they're NPCs walking around. And that's such a cool game design forever.
So cool. Like the amount of like infinite mechanics that created, like literally everyone's experience playing Shadow of War is unique and totally like independent of anyone else just because of that robust system. And I like this is going to be the problem with this lawsuit is if this goes through, which granted this is happening in the Tokyo Municipal Court is what I read, which means this is happening over in Japan, so it might not have the same traction over here in the United States just because our laws are all so different. But it does make me nervous that, like, I mean, surely someone like EA or Ubisoft or something like that would try, you know? Like, that makes me a little bit scared.
You're not allowed to pro football because EA Sports has that patented.
Exactly, right? Like, whoever patents the ability to drive a car in a video game, like, they suddenly own every driving game ever in existence, you know? Like, that's scary, right? For sure. Like, but, like, I was reading through and kind of talking to this as I was going through making my post today. Like, that's how games have developed over the years. Like, you take something from another game that you liked or you thought should be improved upon, and you made a new game out of it. And that's what I felt like happened with Pal World. They took Pokemon, which has been a pretty stale franchise for a long time, and they're like, guns. You know? added that in, you know, gave it a fresh like look, a fresh taste, but now, you know, obviously we've got ourselves in a lawsuit, and that's kind of sad because it's like we're gonna set the precedent that no, you're not allowed to take inspiration from anywhere else. You have to be truly unique, which it's frankly impossible.
Yeah, it's just hard. Like, there are entire genres of successful video games now that are based off of other video games, right? You have your Metroidvanias, obviously Metroid Prime and Castlevania. You have your roguelikes and roguelites, which are based off of Rogue, which was a video game.
Souls games from Soulsborne, based off all the Soulsborne games.
Yeah, Souls games. Yeah. They're whole genres that are defined by mechanics because there have been these titans of industry that have made these cool things. And Pokemon could be something similar, right? I mean, you had other things that were similar to Pokemon, like Digimon back in the day, or Bakugan, like all these different things. But yeah, if they're gonna go after people, I understand if they're taking like the characters and stuff, which is crazy that that's not part of the lawsuit because a lot of the pals were very similar to the Pokemon. It's the mechanics of the game. So, like throwing a Pokeball is patented in their world. Like they patented it in like Legends of Arceus or something like that, where being in a 3D overworld, open world type thing and throwing a Pokeball to catch a monster is part of their patented mechanics. Like that's crazy to me.
And it's,
so nobody else can do that. Well, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, that's scary. Like the thing that I keep thinking about as well is it's like the indie devs of today are the AAA devs of tomorrow, right? For sure. That's how this industry works, you know? You get new people who come in, build an indie project that blows up, you know, and suddenly they have the resources and team that they are now a competing AAA studio. But with this, if this lawsuit actually goes through and everything actually happens, we're basically saying the industry titans that exist right now will forever be in existence because they're just going to hire lawyers to patent everything under the sun, and it's going to be a race to who gets it patented first. And then at that point, it's just like indie dev is basically dead at that point because anyone will find a way to, you know, to say, oh, I had the mechanic first, you got to give it to me. Like, that's
Nintendo's
scary.
always been the worst.
Sure.
Nintendo sues a lot of people for stupid things, right? So we'll see. I don't know. I hope people don't follow Nintendo's footsteps. They could, but I don't know. Nintendo's just always been known for that as well. So maybe it's just them.
Maybe. I don't know. Like again, I don't know exactly how patent law works in Japan, but at least like here in the United States, you're not allowed to patent software, but you are allowed to patent processes. So like with Shadow of War, the process and the system of the Nemesis system is patented. I think they would have a really hard time legally saying like, oh, this mechanic is a system built with this software, and if someone were to recreate it, I don't know. That would be a very interesting lawsuit to pay attention to.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. It's interesting. It's scary, but I really hope that... Well, actually, you know what you should do? Make some type of Pokemon game in VR and then patent it first so Nintendo can never do it unless they pay you.
Dude, someone tried. Someone made a Pokemon ripoff. I think it's still available.
Yeah,
it was on SideQuest
that.
forever, and they got a cease and desist from Nintendo about it.
You just have to not... Because they used actual Pokemon. Make up your own random things and patent the idea of throwing a Pokeball and catching a monster in VR.
I think that's what they did. That's been one of my things, because like I've had a lot of people ask me, like, are you at all worried that Sea of Thieves will sue you? Because my game is like similar to that. And like I've always said no, like because Sea of Thieves doesn't own pirate gameplay, you know? Like they can't say like, but again, this is why this is kind of nerve-wracking, because they could potentially after this lawsuit be like, if you get on a pirate ship and sail out into the world, that's our game mechanic. And it'd be like, no, it's not. Like that's what's scary about this, right? Like that's what's kind of scary about this, but I don't know. And the other thing is like the accessibility of like patenting something is like you have to hire a patent lawyer, which you're paying lawyer salaries, which are muy high, right? Like the only people who are going to be able to do this are the big companies, and that's just going to crush the indie devs, and that's what's scary to me. That's what's the terrifying thing for me.
I read it is more likely to hold up in Japan, but the consequences won't be that bad. Pal World and Pocket, whatever the company name is, we'll just have to pay them some monies, and then it'll be done. That's my understanding of what the lawsuit is and how it is most likely to turn out in Japan. They won't be able to like keep them from selling things. Pal World will just have to pay them some royalties from their sales, so it shouldn't bury the company. They should still be able to make things. It just kind of sucks that it's happening. But it is something that is more likely to happen in some area like Japan. So not as much in the United States.
We'll have to keep an eye on that one for sure, because in the United States that would be pretty detrimental to like the indie dev world. So
for sure.
That was
I wanted to talk about another interesting game. I don't know if you saw the announcement of the A6 disc game that's coming to VR.
Yeah, I did.
It's a competitive VR game. It reminded me a lot of Hyperdrive, right? Because they're kind of inspired by Tron. Which you better patent that, man. Just kidding. Hard Drive. Sorry, yeah.
So it says Hyperdrive.
It reminds me of the disc battles inside of Tron Legacy. Yeah. But it's kind of like a combination of that and air hockey is what it looked like, or Pong.
Yeah.
So
the
concept.
I was looking into it a bit more because you shared that with me, and what it's looking like to me is it's very much like a fitness focused game. Like they're trying to make it like a fitness thing, but it is set up like a goal tender, basically. Like I feel like it's more like a goal simulator, or like, what do you call it? Goalie simulator. There's a giant goal behind you, and you're tossing the disc back and forth, but you have to be able to like reach where it comes to hit it back, and then if you don't hit it in time, it goes behind you and they score, which is interesting, and definitely kind of gives those Tron vibes. It is kind of funny though, because internally we have been thinking about potentially making like our disc battle game of our own to put in hard drive, and I was kind of like, man, is that gonna wreck us? But it's kind of nice because I can kind of see what the reception of that game is, to see if it's worthwhile, to see if we should put in our own. But
I think, the interesting thing for me, right? First off, powered by ASICs. That's interesting.
Pretty.
To have a corporate sponsor like that sponsoring your video game, that's crazy. That opens up a new world.
Yeah.
But built from the ground up to be an esport, but a physical esport, like athletic esport, very different genre of video game than we've really seen before, and very different genre of competition than we've seen before. So that's like two really interesting new things that are going to be featured in this game. I don't know. Having ASICS branding all over everything is interesting. I remember you did like the idea of jumbotrons and stuff in college. You were looking at trying to brand inside of VR and do marketing inside of VR. So having a game sponsored by a company is a really interesting way of marketing inside of VR. I think it's pretty cool.
No, it is interesting. And like when I applied, so I actually, before starting Red Team Interactive, applied to get into the technology master's degree where we went to college. And I actually got in on the premise that I was going to study marketing in virtual reality. That was one of the things I wanted to look into. And one of the big things that happens that like was kind of the thing I wanted to research throughout my master's degree, but obviously didn't end up doing it, is I wanted to look at brand exposure inside of virtual reality. So what brand exposure is basically like you have to get familiar with the brand, you have to get familiar with the logos and whatnot. And this is like a big thing that happens in stadiums. Like when you go to like a football stadium, there's logos and everything all around the stadium, but they're not converting to customers necessarily, but they're converting to customers in the sense that when you think of insurance company, you think of the insurance company you saw when you were watching the football game or the baseball game or whatever, right? And I feel like that was kind of an interesting one. But what bothers me about this collaboration is it's like, hey, let's make an esports disc game together, and yet they killed Echo VR. Like, you had a disc esport game that literally had a league, it had professional players, it had great like setup for like the streaming side of it and everything, and it's like, here we are 2 years later since they killed it, and they're like, let's make another one, and it's like, what were you thinking? Like, what? Just put an ASICS branded disc inside of Echo, and you would have been there. Ugh.
It's interesting. I feel like this concept though is a very different approach to that idea. You know, like Echo Arena reminded me of the training simulator from Ender's Game. I don't know if you've read that book.
Yeah, love that book.
That's what I always felt like Echo Arena was this zero gravity arena type game, and like it's cool, but I think there's going to be something interesting about the physicality of a game like this, where your esports professionals are going to have to be athletes to compete. Like that's very enticing, and it's never really been done before if you think about it. Like that could open up interesting like areas and new arenas for esports, because esports for a long time, I remember being in college and watching League of Legends esports. Their Worlds tournament is still very, very followed, but I feel like for most esports there's been a huge drop off. But if you start getting more physical athletes inside of video games right now, that opens up things for potentially in 5 to 10 years you actually have some esports inside of an event like the Olympics. They talked about it for a while, trying to integrate in esports into the Olympics when Intel was a big sponsor of the Olympics, and it never happened because it shouldn't have. But if you start having things like this, that opens up an interesting door.
No,
for
for sure.
possibilities like that.
No, so interesting that you say that about like the esports leagues and stuff like that, because like there's a guy here in Utah who is trying to start a high school level esports league, and
Cool.
He's been messaging me a lot about it because he's like, hey, like you're an influencer and you're also like, you know, really big into game development. Would love to see this, like, to help out with it. And I told him like, yeah, like I'm kind of interested in that. Like keep me posted on the progress and whatnot. And it's been really interesting, like the reception of esports as a like a sport, you know, because it's a number one, it's a good time if done right. If like done right, and this is kind of the biggest thing for him is like the broadcast side of esports, right? Like there's all this stuff that goes into making it appealing to the people watching it, right? Which obviously like the people who are doing like the world championship of you know, league and whatnot, like they have all the sources at their disposal, but like trying to bring it to like the common person has its difficulties. And also there's just like some people who still view video games in such a negative light, which is so sad.
For sure.
Because like I just think I feel like we should be past that at this point, right? Like come on.
Yeah.
Like video games are not bad, you know? Like whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I don't know. It's interesting concept, interesting new possibilities. Who knows if it's actually going to be good or not? I have no idea about the gameplay, but I think the new concept is refreshing and it opens up a lot of interesting possibilities in the future. So,
For sure. I'm definitely gonna check it out more out of curiosity than anything, and also because I want to create my own disc game. So I might be doing it to see like what they did wrong.
yeah.
But yeah, like I would love to see more esports, but there's also the problem of if you approach a game development saying this is gonna be an esport, I feel like 9 times out of 10 the community is like probably not. You know, like you can't build to be an esport. Like you have to build a game and then see if the community takes it that way. My opinion.
Yeah. Again, I feel like this is just such a different genre of esport with the physicality of it. I don't know. It's it'll be interesting to see. I don't know how you could make that into a casual game. Like it has to be something competitive, right?
It does.
Not really a casual nature to it.
No, for sure. I think you have to build a game with like a competitive aspect in mind. But I think if you build a game with the intention that it becomes a big esport, I feel like you'll miss the mark. Because that's been my experience anyway. Like seeing people like build games and like this is gonna be the next biggest esport, and I'm like, is that what your community wants, or is that what you want? Because the community might see the competitive nature as being kind of fun, but in a casual way. But I don't know. That's kind of been my experience.
We have a couple other topics if you want to jump into something else. We talked about that. Probably good. I think there's been a couple of new interesting announcements in the headset world. The HTC Vive Focus is, let's see, more of a gamer-focused headset. Very interesting because I don't know if you remember. I remember when we were in college, HTC stepped out of the consumer market for the most part. They kind of said, hey, we don't really want to be a part of this, and they jumped into the commercial market where they were trying to build more for enterprise.
Yeah.
So now they're putting something back in the gaming world, which is pretty cool. I think, if anything, competition is good for Meta. Obviously, you have Pico, but I still haven't seen a lot of adoption of Pico in the United States, I feel like. So having another company like HTC jump into the ring is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so I'm looking at the announcement on roadtovr.com, and they're saying that the price tag is $1,000, which, like, right off the bat, that's like, okay. All right, so we're targeting our higher-end users, right? Their controller design is very similar to the Oculus Quest 2, which is an interesting choice to me because if you haven't noticed in the most recent stuff of Meta, they've abandoned the tracking rings, right? So it's showing the Focus as having these tracking rings on top.
Yeah.
But Meta has abandoned those tracking rings because so many games use like very close to your hands interactions, like especially in like games like Contractor where you reload, and it has to be like pretty close to your hands. They've ditched that. So like This almost feels like they're selling 3-year-old hardware at a premium price.
Yeah.
But again, Meta just announced that they're making the Horizon, what do they call it now? Gosh dang it, the Horizon
Operating
App Store.
system?
Yeah, the iOS and the App Store is going to be open platform. So
Yeah.
like that's intriguing because you could play like my games, for example, on this headset, and I as a developer wouldn't have to do anything. Like they would just be able to plug into the API. It'd be more on the hardware side of things, which from a developer standpoint is so much more accessible and so great because it opens it up without us having to do any extra work. So will this thing go crazy and get sold to millions of people?
Probably not.
Probably not. I'm trying to see automatic IPD adjustment. That's interesting. Snapdragon
It's
XR2
a mixed reality
Gen 1.
device.
It is mixed reality. Okay.
Pass through.
But like to the extent that the Quest 3 is, probably that's what I'm seeing with the depth sensor. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like good pass through. Closer to maybe, hopefully, like the Apple Vision Pro. It'd be cool if it was like to that level of pass through.
I would doubt it, especially since they're rocking the Snapdragon XR2 Gen 1, which I believe, if I'm not wrong, the Quest 2 runs on the Gen 2, or the Quest 3 runs on the Gen 2. 128 gigabytes. That's a small SD. Oh, but it can be expanded to 2 terabytes. Interesting. Huh. Oh, that's interesting. It has an infrared floodlight on it. Okay, so that's a unique proposition right there. So basically, they're saying it has an infrared floodlight, which literally means you could play in the dark because it would be able to project in front of you light such that it could contract the controllers and stuff. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, I think it looks cool. Like you said, are they going to sell a ton of them? I have no idea.
Probably not.
But I think it's cool that they're competing with Meta again. And I was going to say it'd be interesting to see if they get the Meta OS, the Horizon OS. I think that'd be a really cool first. I feel like it'd be the first one, right?
That I know of, yeah. I've been thinking a lot about that iOS, like their sudden change in heart to an open platform. And I would venture to guess that soon here we're going to see Samsung enter the market again with a consumer level device. And I think Oculus, instead of being like, oh, let's go toe to toe with them, was kind of like, you know what? We need as many people in here as possible. Let's just make it so that games are super accessible and we can still generate profit on whatever platform is out there. Just kind of a cool way to like approach it, but it also maybe speaks a little bit to like the VR industry right now, where it's like we can't afford competition. We literally just need to help anyone who's willing to put money into the space. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. I'm glad to see them back into like the consumer focused area though, because it's definitely been a minute. But not what I would have done.
Not at that price point.
Not at that price point. If you drop this down to like comparable to the Quest 3, you might have pretty good competition, especially because it comes with such a good like head strap and audio solution, and a lot of these extra features. Like if you priced it like $600, like kind of where like the Quest 3 is at, I think they would have a much better chance. But holy crap, $1,000? I don't know. It's hard. VR industry is hard right now for new headsets, which is one of the things I'm kind of curious if like Samsung and Google will ever jump back in, because it's just not. I don't know.
I think they will. I know. So. I'm pretty sure Google and Magic Leap are working together now. So
really,
I don't know if you've. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Google and Magic Leap have some sort of partnership that they're working on. That's what I've heard. So they're obviously AR devices, but they're hardware. So that could open up the world of Google and VR devices as well. So who knows?
That's interesting.
And I did have, I think it was Google or Microsoft, but one of those two. And I did have another interesting headset that's coming out, or that actually is out already. They've already shipped out kits. Is the Snap Spectacles.
We were talking about this a little bit. Yeah.
So they had Snap Fest, Lens Fest or whatever last week. It's the 5th generation of these. They're still not consumer devices. They're dev devices, but
Pretty high end.
it's more of a fit form factor. So it's pretty small for an AR glasses that's like real AR.
Right.
There's no extra cords or anything. It's all contained inside of the device. They have a 45-minute battery life, which obviously isn't a lot, but for everything being contained in the device, that's pretty cool. And then they are $99 a month subscription for developers. So interesting. They're making games for them. They use Snapchat's Snap OS. So, and with Snapchat's new camera kit, which allows you to make snap lenses for mobile devices, like native applications as well as web applications. Snap is becoming more of a powerful engine in the AR space. So they're not just making filters for Snapchat anymore. They have their AR glasses that you can now build Snapchat effects for. You can build app-based things. There's a lot of actually interesting stuff that you can do now with Snap. And I feel like they're making some major plays. And one of the craziest things is it doesn't cost developers any money to do it. There's 0 licensing fees. You just have to have their branding in everything. So
interesting.
I don't know.
That makes me think that there's like a longer term play that they're getting at here, right?
For sure.
Like it definitely feels like they're trying to figure out, okay, what's gonna fit the consumer market in general, and so they're slowly iterating, because like they've had their other Snap spectacles for like 5 or 6 years at this point, right? Like
it's
a decent amount of time. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, my guess is this is all R&D working up to a more consumer-friendly version that'll be at a much better price point. And then they'll have it develop both the, like, app store and ecosystem to support, like, the masses, right? So that's interesting. That's,
I talked to Dilmer. He was at the Lens Fest. I think Snapchat flew him out to go do it. So he got a pair. Yeah, he got a pair. He's working on a video that should be out today or tomorrow to kind of walk through his experience there and kind of do 1 or 2 tutorials on building things for the Snap lenses, which is pretty cool. So really cool content coming with that from different people. I'm going to try and get my hands on a pair. $99 a month isn't too bad, so I might try and get a pair and dink around with them a little bit and see if I can make some cool stuff.
Gonna post some tutorials about it.
Yeah. Right now, my next video, so I kind of have a schedule finally.
Hooray!
Monday, Wednesday, we're going to try and do shorts. Tuesdays, obviously, we have our live podcast. And then Thursdays, I'm going to try and post a video. So that's kind of the tentative schedule. I haven't posted this week, obviously, because I've been killing myself trying to get a project done. So I told Garrett I got about 3 hours of sleep last night, building out a project right now that should be out hopefully tomorrow, but it's an infinite runner and it's on Niantic, their game engine, so it'll be playable on your mobile device on the web. No app downloads. It'll be fun, but
nice.
Yeah, and then my next video is going to be kind of covering like what's the difference between native XR versus social XR versus web XR, and kind of the use cases for all of them.
Okay. That's interesting. I didn't realize there was a difference either.
Though.
So, yeah. Guys, if you have at all any interest in like learning how to develop like Snapchat lenses, TikTok lenses and stuff, go follow Declan. All of his stuff's in the bio or in the description. So like go check that out. He does some awesome stuff. He's literally on like the bleeding edge of augmented reality, and he's trying to create tutorials and a community to help each other out. So definitely go check him out. Go follow him, guys. He's going to be creating some awesome stuff here.
And I actually, along with all of that, I think our last 3 pieces of news are kind of about software and development. So there's something actually really cool that happened today that I have been waiting for a while. So anybody that is kind of in the AR space has probably heard of Niantic. I'm sure a lot of the people in this call have heard of it as well. They make Pokemon Go. They make a lot of augmented reality applications, and they've kind of pioneered the world of location-based augmented reality with things like Pokemon Go, where you can have physical GPS locations and use augmented reality at those GPS locations, which is pretty cool. They own a software that's a web augmented reality software and web game engine now called Eighth Wall. And they just announced today that they are starting a developer accelerator fund. So they are now taking in applications to be on their developer accelerator fund so that you can get money for making new content for their new game engine.
That's huge.
So it's really cool. Yeah, you can make, I think, around $2,200 for a new experience on their platform. If you build an experience, if you go in and build a template that other people can clone, and if you make it have code that other people can add into their project really easily, you can earn around $2,200. If you're just making a game and want to put it up there, they're offering $1,000 to $1,200. So it's an easy way for people to jump in and get like paid for making content for a new game engine, which is pretty cool. And this isn't the only time they're going to do this. So they're taking applications for their first round of it right now to get people involved, and then they're going to continue to do it throughout the future. So if you want to learn about web gaming, building games for web, building augmented reality or virtual reality experiences for web, I would highly recommend checking out Eighth Wall and their studio. It's free. You can sign up for a free account, start making things there. If you're in there, clone my project. It's called Dragon Dash. It's a Flappy Bird clone. So you can learn how I made it. All the code is available. You can take it apart. You can use it however you want. All the code is yours. And yeah, get in there, try it out. I'm working on another one right now. Like I said, it's called Mineshaft Mayhem, and it's going to be an infinite runner, and it's going to be the same thing. You can go in and use all the code and, change it however you want. I've actually seen 3 or 4 versions of the Dragon Dash already that people have made for different clients and have kind of made their own. So it's really fun to see.
Yeah, again, Declan and I got into this industry because we were lucky enough to get involved with a mixed reality lab who was teaching students how to develop in virtual reality, augmented reality, really before anyone else was even offering it, And
Yeah.
I feel like this is another one of those opportunities where like the augmented reality developers of tomorrow have a chance now to like jump into it. So seriously, guys, if you have any interest in being like a developer at this, like go check it out. We'll try to leave like the stuff down in like the description and whatnot in the comments.
For sure.
But that's cool.
And
That's huge. And I do love that like Niantic has the funds to do that at this point, because like that is such a good base to build on, especially since like they built their own game and they know the needs of like the everyday person. I do love Niantic. I think that's such a cool story, like how they built the game and now they've turned into this superpower at this point. So
yeah. I don't know if you know the background of Niantic. The people that made Niantic were basically trying to make a map of the world, right? I'm pretty sure they developed a lot of the stuff that Google bought for Google Maps.
really,
So that's kind of where they got their start. From my understanding, that's how the company started. They were some of the first people to ever digitally map out the entire world. And now they're
Okay.
trying to map out the entire world again, but in 3D. And that's kind of Niantic's initiative. They're trying to be the first company to map out the entire world in 3D. And that's kind of what they're doing. So, pretty cool.
Huh. That's such an interesting prospect of like mapping the world out like that.
Yeah. I mean, it has to happen if augmented reality is ever going to be,
Big.
what we think it's going to be.
No, that is interesting though, because there's 2 approaches, right? There's the map it out approach, which requires pretty high upkeep for like the constantly moving parts of our world, right? But then there's the like compute in real time, which is kind of what I feel like Apple has been doing with their spatial computing. Is they're basically saying like, instead of trying to map out the world, let's just figure out how to tell the computer pretty quickly this is what you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what we have with like the depth sensors and whatnot. So it's kind of interesting to see that like Niantic is taking the approach of let's have basically a
map
version of truth where it's like this is what is around you. And I'm sure they'll also include some spatial computing, But
Yeah.
then again, you have like Apple, who's like, no, let's just make it so that it doesn't matter your setup. It works.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the cost. Honestly, I think for people, Niantic's solution can be used on mobile phones, whereas Apple's solution needs a $3,000 piece of hardware on your head to be able to do it. So that's kind of the big difference, is the accessibility of the technology.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to our cloud computing thing that we were talking
Yeah.
about last time, where it's like, like my personal opinion is that, accessibility is what's going to win out, because, like people in third world countries aren't going to be able to afford the $1,000 headset, but they will be able to afford an internet connection and cloud-based computing. So very interesting, very interesting. So
And
you're
then
telling me today that Godot now works on Meta Quest?
Yeah. So I actually have the article pulled up. I wanted to share that because I think it's really interesting.
Okay.
Let me pull that up on my device. Let's see if that worked. Can you see it?
Nope.
Oh, it says it's sharing.
Sharing. Let's see. Hang on. There we go. It's blurry, but we're kind of there.
So the Godot XR engine. Right now, you can jump in and basically have a Godot editor inside of VR, and then you can hit play. So here's a good video of it. Play, and then it launches the game engine in there, and you can run the whole game in VR in real time.
That's crazy.
All native application. It's not like you're streaming a device or doing something. It's running in your headset as you're developing it. It's so cool. I love it. Even if you're just prototyping, I don't know if you remember some of the tools that we used in the past, like Maquette.
Yep.
Even if you're just prototyping things, like this is awesome to have the option to do this kind of a thing now. It's all open source. It's all free. If you publish a game in Godot, you don't have to pay any royalties to Godot. You get 100% of the revenue, obviously, other than what the store that you're publishing it on takes. But you're not paying a engine like Unity or Unreal Engine. There's no royalties.
Unity actually just backtracked on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
It was a couple of weeks ago, but they decided to formally retract the there's that whole like usage thing, right? Where it's like if you got per download, you were going to have to pay Unity based off of the downloads, which a lot of people did the math, and I was like, well, this is the end of free to play games, because it just wasn't worth any of the stuff that we were trying to do. But they officially backtracked on it. They said that they're no longer going to do that, and are going to look into other ways of monetizing the engine. So that was good news, actually. But
yeah, that's awesome.
That is huge, though. Like, so for SailVR and hard drive, what we typically do, like our development stack is like we use Unity on a PC laptop or PC, and we have to use Steam VR to like test things in real time inside of the editor. Mm-hmm. So like the ability to like be in the headset and also able to like test it in real time is like a very unique value proposition. But like, have you ever tried to work a day in virtual reality with what's currently available?
I haven't.
It's not easy.
A full day.
It is not easy. I tried for a little while to use virtual desktop like as my setup. Yeah. And I tried really hard because I like wanted to be like, yeah, I work in VR, and it's like, it's not there. It's just not there yet. Yeah. I just don't have like the amount of, especially with code and stuff like that, the amount of times you need a keyboard and you need to be able to see your keyboard well. We just don't have a good app that I feel like has done that yet. Has made it so that the whole typing process that is involved with like game development and whatnot happens. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like if you're using a node-based solution instead of a code-based solution,
that might
like
be easier.
A less code approach. That could be something.
I could see visual
I have a video
coding
pulled up right now. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I could see visual coding being much more intuitive in VR rather than traditional. So that could be like a very interesting approach to go about it.
Yeah. I have this video pulled up now where they have the game running in the background so you can see the game, and then they have the window pulled up with the editor, and they're making live changes in the editor, and it's reflecting in real time in the game that's running too.
That's pretty crazy.
Like, imagine for positioning things, even if it's just like the little detail work inside of a project where
like
you're trying to
scale
move.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, scaling things or move things where they need to be, and then being able to save, like, let's say you have a coffee mug and you're trying to find the right spot for it in your scene. Just being able to do stuff like that in real time is really cool. And like, get just firsthand experience on it.
No.
And again, like, even if you're not building something in it, the prototyping in it's really cool too.
No, yeah, we use a game called Shapes. It's a free MetaQuest app, and they have a lot of like a kind of they're very much like a prototyping app, and we use that all the time for like laying out stuff in Sail and whatnot. Because again, like with VR, it's such a unique game development process because you have to get things right in like a 3D space. So every time we have to do anything that's like UI related, where you have to be able to see it and feel it, we first go and lay it out inside of this thing called Shapes. And so like the ability to like do that in real time while seeing like the changes would be so nice. And like I'm genuinely surprised like some of these bigger engines haven't tried that yet, you know?
Yeah. I think I only have like one more piece of news I think that I would want to talk about right now. I shared it as well. We talked about Spark closing down, so MetaSpark, the engine that runs the augmented reality filters inside of Instagram, they're closing that whole thing down in January, which is huge. But there's actually an announcement today that YouTube is making an effect studio for shorts inside of YouTube. Whoa. So you'll be able to do augmented reality effects and different types of effects while creating YouTube shorts. So kind of what they're doing with effects in TikTok, you'll be able to do inside of YouTube now. So I just wanted to ask you, is that something like you would ever consider using? Because you make a lot of shorts. What if instead of having to have Breadbox post-process, you can just have a filter that makes you in a Breadbox in real time? Like, will that make your life easier?
Very possibly. It's actually one of the things I've been nervous about because I use the eyes and mouth filter on TikTok to make my videos. And usually what happens is like I write up a script of like what the whole post is going to be. And then I go in and film one character at a time just because it's easier to do the voices and stuff that way. And then I download that video, chop it up and edit it, and then download it with captions and everything put onto it into what's posted onto like shorts and whatnot. So like when there was all the threats happening of like, oh, TikTok is going to get shut down in the United States, I was kind of like, oh crap, like I need to figure out another filter that does the same thing that will be legal for me to use in the United States because like it was going to be gone. But like I also love the idea of like letting other people like be Breadbox. Like that'd be kind of fun as well to like do the community and see like what other people think Breadbox should be saying. Like Breadbox reacts to Breadbox fans. Like that'd be kind of fun. I'm not opposed to it. I would love to see more like filter stuff on more platforms. Like TikTok is definitely I feel like ahead of the game on that.
100%.
Snapchat. YouTube Shorts is such an interesting place like for content right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I have no thoughts on like the algorithm and whatnot. It's just very interesting. That's all I can say. So
it'll be interesting to see these changes. I'm not in the early access. I have talked to people that are and am trying to get into it as soon as possible. We'll see if that happens because I'm not a huge social augmented reality person. I don't make a ton of filters. I've made a couple, but I think I made one for sale, one or two.
Yeah.
But I haven't done a ton of that work. Obviously, I'm more web-based, but I think it'd be fun to be in the ground floor working with them building up their engine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, YouTube has done a lot of like things like this over the last year. They recently got a new YouTube CEO, not CTO, CEO.
Susan Dye?
I think so.
She had like cancer or something, right?
I can't remember. But I remember Okay, so the current CEO of YouTube is named Neil Mohan.
Okay.
Susan Diane was till 2023.
Yeah. I think she passed away this year.
Oh, that's sad. But yeah, so this new CDO he's trying a lot of like different things. Like I don't know if you've seen this, but YouTube has games now. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like
Interesting.
little mini games that you can play, and I've actually played quite a few of them because it's playing basically a mobile game with no need to like download it and have it on your phone taking up space. Like that's kind of a unique proposition for me, and I don't know. It'd be interesting. I'd like to see them do more with that. I was actually looking a little bit into like who gets to be on that. Like, are they trying to become an app store? Are they just porting over kind of fun games? But
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm interested in all that stuff, man. I think it'd be fun to build something on Niantic and have it work on YouTube straight away. Like that'd be dope. I don't know. There's so many possibilities. I feel like we've talked about this before probably, but the whole concept of metaverse and like having, I don't know, different, I guess, things available on the web for you to play video games. To me, that's going to be the metaverse, right? You're going to have web games, web things, web 3D in AR and VR, but maybe just on your mobile phone or on your desktop as well. And now that companies like Niantic are creating an engine built for web first, so basically think of like Flash games again. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to have companies like YouTube distributing games on their platform that are web-based. It just opens up this huge new world of like rebuilding the web for gamers and for social content and for different things that I think is really, really cool and a new opportunity to like rebuild that whole Flash game era.
Yeah.
I loved Flash games growing up. And now we can have better Flash games. And they could be integrated into these giant companies and giant networks that we all use already. So
so to that point of like rebuilding the web for like gamers, I was listening to Brandon Sanderson's podcast. He has a podcast called Intentionally Blank, and he talked about, so he grew up obviously like he was a kid during the 80s, you know, rose to his fandom in like the early 2000s as an author and whatnot. And he's always been obsessed with video games. And he was definitely a part of that era where it was like there were nerds and geeks, right? And they were the outcasts of society. Blah, blah, blah. But he talks about it a lot. He's like, video games are becoming a part of life. Like it's so common. It's such an easy way to interact with people and stuff that like it should not be surprising in the future if like gaming was a part of like, you know, like companies and like how you do like your daily meeting and stuff. There was a professor at Brigham Young University who did his whole dissertation on how teams work together based off of like team building video game experience. And he found that like games like what was it? Games like Guitar Hero?
Guitar Hero.
It was like casually competitive games to play against your teammates was better at like team building than any of those dumb like retreats and stuff they do where they do the trust your teammate and fall into their arms and whatnot, you know? And so like Brandon Sanderson he made it seem on his podcast at least that he's of the opinion that like games are just going to be a part of life. And like if you can figure out how to gamify like a meeting that you have to do every day, people are going to do that. You know, like we should not think of gaming as this like separate industry anymore. Like it's a part of everything. But yeah,
I think it's really cool. I'm excited for a more gaming focused internet. I think it's great. The only thing I will say, I don't know if you remember LinkedIn, the professional networking tool, tried to add in video games into LinkedIn, and I thought that was pretty crazy. So you have to remember your audience.
See, but like that's where like somewhere like YouTube, I feel like would be a good fit. Like frankly,
for sure.
On like my YouTube channel, I would kind of low key love to display my stats in certain games.
For sure.
Like I kind of love Discord because Discord has the ability to like link so many apps to it. And so people can like look at you and be like, "Oh, he's playing XYZ game," you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder if like someday one of the social medias will be more like ubiquitous like that, where it's like, "Oh, hey, you want to see what this guy's doing, or like I don't know. It's kind of interesting. But
Bring back MySpace.
oh gosh, revive MySpace. Okay, there's one more thing we should talk about because this week is Meta Connect. I did not get invited, which is a whole nother story.
Oh.
But I was not invited to Meta Connect this year. But it is this weekend, and rumors are amok about a Quest 3S that will be announced.
Interesting.
So, what is going around?
That lower budget?
The idea is it's going to be basically a slightly less hardware capable version of the Quest 3, but priced at $300 is the prediction.
Nice.
Which
that's cool.
Like,
dig it.
Again, the Quest 2 when it initially launched was $300, right? So it would be very comparable to like a Quest 2. Like I feel like this is kind of going to be their Quest 2 replacement with like the bare bones of the Quest 3, which is I think that's really exciting. Like we've needed an upgrade. I've always told people buy the Quest 3, but if they announce the Quest 3S, I'm gonna get my hands on it as soon as possible. And I'm gonna see what that's because that will be like the Quest 2 killer, hopefully. Yeah, but that's what it's looking like.
Next week we should plan on talking about the conferences that are going on, right?
There's a lot of them.
I've been seeing people been saying stuff about the PlayStation State of Play.
Yep.
Which let me tell you now, haven't seen it yet. I can tell you what the state of video games are. They suck. So we'll watch it, and I guarantee they're gonna prove me right. But we can talk about that, and we can talk about the meta event. I think that'd be cool.
I think that's a good one. I think that would be a perfect way to do next week. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, there's a couple of other small, interesting news we could probably touch on real fast. Thrill of the Fight. Did you ever play Thrill of the Fight?
I did, yeah.
They just announced the second one coming in early access in November. That, if you want to work out,
let me Google it.
That is a great game. Like, that is, holy crap.
Okay, yeah.
Thrill of the Fight. That's the one that was like real space and you had to actually like box. Like, I don't know.
And good haptic feedback game.
Great haptic feedback. Like,
if you have a suit.
It's also like just also what they're able to do with like the bare bones. My gosh, that is a fantastic workout game. If you ever want to get sweaty and just like burn calories, that's a fantastic game to do it. You do need a little bit of space. That's kind of like the one downside to it. But yeah, that's a really interesting
definitely broke a controller playing that game.
Did you punch a wall?
Not even kidding. Yeah, I punched my cabinets in my first apartment.
Oh, rip. Oh, that's funny. We also have Dumb Ways to Die. Just announced what looks like
that's fun.
It very much looks like Fall Guys, but in virtual reality. It's
sick, dude. I love that.
It says Dumb Ways to Die just announced a mini games multiplayer game for the MetaQuest.
Isn't that crazy? I feel like that whole concept was a train campaign for like safety on trains.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember
and now it's like this huge thing that
it's a whole company. It's like a whole yeah. They like I get videos all the time of people to that stupid song Dumb Ways to Die. Like it's so good. But yeah, like to see them expanding like into the game space, like I'm like low-key I'm kind of excited about that. That's cool.
Hopefully it's multiplayer. That'd be a lot of fun to do stupid crap with your friends.
Yep. It says it's a multiplayer mini game. So I'm assuming like the branding looks very much like Fall Guys type thing. It's called Dumb Ways Free for All. So Dumb Ways to Die Free for All. That looks interesting. Did you ever see
die the craziest way?
Dude, I think that'd be hilarious. That sounds so fun.
That is funny.
Did you ever see Microsoft's military AR headset?
Yeah, I did.
The HoloLens rebranded, basically.
Uh-huh.
So there's a news article here about the Oculus founder, Palmer Luckey, helping them out because they've been struggling.
Okay.
It says, the defense tech company founded by Oculus founder Palmer Luckey announced that it is partnering with Microsoft to boost the company's militarized HoloLens 2-based AR headset.
That's cool.
Yeah, so the history behind this is the military signed a defense contract with Microsoft for like $3 billion or something like that to try to build a tactical augmented reality headset, which I lovingly nicknamed TARD because it was a tactical augmented reality device.
Oh no.
So it's called the Tard. He's a character in the Garett the Gamer universe.
Yeah, I think I've seen him before.
But like, it's such an interesting. It's kind of been interesting to follow because they have just struggled and struggled and struggled. But
Yeah.
here comes Palmer Luckey, which like he now runs a company called Anduril Industries, which is basically Tony Stark Industries.
I feel like I lost a little bit of respect for Palmer Luckey after he went to AWE. I feel like he spoke there, right? I don't know if you ever saw his keynote.
I did not. I was actually there though.
Oh, you went? I didn't know you went.
Yeah.
He just kind of struck me as like a scummy guy. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Really?
It's kind of weird listening to him talk. Yeah. So, I don't know. More power to him. He's obviously the godfather of all this stuff, but he seemed like an interesting character, and I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the things that he wants to do, but I mean, he's good at what he does, so we'll see.
I definitely love like his founder story. I haven't kept up too much with him, other than I know that he started like a defense company, which I was just like, that's interesting. You go from video games to defense contracting, you know. But
well, you got to tell him the most interesting part of this. Our college professor,
that's right.
He actually did the alpha for this whole defense contract. He did his research for the Virginia Military Institute on creating heads-up displays in augmented reality for soldiers. And when they decided they wanted to actually invest money into it, I don't think he got a call back. So that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's rough.
But he did his doctorates in that specific field. So
that's interesting. Cool. I don't know. I have a couple buddies who are in the military, and I've asked them about this. I even have a buddy who's a cop, and I've kind of asked him, like, would you, like, use this? And their biggest question is always, like, is it going to limit me in any way? Because, like, especially for, like, cops and people in active combat situations, it's like, you can't be hindered in any way. And the HoloLens, too, as you and I both know, is a very hindering device. Like, that thing does not have the FOV or anything to manage what would probably be needed at a military type level. So
I think it's cool research, and I think it could be useful one day with drones, but it's still, I mean, the world of AR, man, it's hard to build a good, useful consumer augmented reality device yet. So we'll see.
That'll be interesting to like keep up on, because like eventually something's got to hit, right? Like everyone who's in the industry knows that AR will eventually be the thing that like replaces your phone. But no one's hit it yet. Like no one has gotten it to a point where it's like, this makes sense, this works, this is what we were looking for. And that's
just hard.
It's a bit wild.
A lot of complicated stuff, you know.
Oh, for sure.
But it's fun to see people researching into it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But I don't know. Well, that's all I got for the day. Anything else from the chat? Rapid fire questions, chat. What do you got for us?
We'll do like 5 or 6 questions.
Garett, if someone from Sea of Thieves asked you if you wanted to work for them, what would you say? Probably no. I don't. Sea of Thieves is a great game, but they also have done a lot of things that I'm like. I also hate the idea of working for a big studio, because like when you work for a game studio, you get to handle one teeny tiny piece and the giant game, and that would kill me. Like that, I think that would make me literally go insane. Because with Sail, like I'm literally the person directing where the game is going and everything, and that is so much more fun. So much more fun. So, yo, the new game looks fire. Do I have a headphone dent? Probably at this point.
I don't. I've checked. I wear a hat a lot.
I've actually been interested in looking into those. Have you seen those new gaming wired headphones that just sit in your ears? Have you seen those?
Yeah, I'm not a huge in-ear guy.
Really?
I like I wear these a lot, the Apple Pros, or the Apple whatever, the big ones, and then I like the bone conduction ones that kind of sit on the outside of your ear.
Oh, interesting.
I like those a lot. So
I don't know. I don't love wearing these. Like they're comfortable, but I don't know. I would love to try just doing. I'll have to check some different ones out.
I wanted to say, if any of you guys are in college, I just remembered this. Something really cool. There's an organization I found this week, and you should look into it. It's icxr.org. It's the Intercollegiate XR community. There's about 30 universities that are represented right now, and about 1,000 members. They have a Discord server, and it's the first large collegiate collaboration community that I've seen. And I wish it would have existed when we were students.
I mean, that's what we kind of tried to start up, huh?
Yeah, but this is big, and I'm trying to do some events with them. So I got in with the community, and I'm working with the co-presidents to try and figure some stuff out. So it's a really cool thing. I would highly recommend it. And maybe we'll have to get Garrett in there too to chat with some of these college students, because there's a lot of cool stuff happening, and it can be hard if you're a student trying to figure out how to be a dev. So,
like one of the cool things, one of the great things about like the AR and VR space is it's so small that I feel like everyone is still so willing to help everyone out. So it's such a good space to get into right now.
Yeah.
Ooh, we got a question. What makes a platformer horror game that you can fight in as fire? Huh?
So a platformer horror game
from J3STOR. What makes a platformer horror game that you can fight in is fire?
I think he's asking like what would be good mechanics in a platformer horror game.
I feel like a platformer horror game would be hard to make scary because like I feel like horror games very much rely on the environment to make things scary, and like also like level design to like put you into pinches.
First person. That's hard to do a third person
horror
game.
Yeah, I don't know how you would do that such that, because that's such a different angle that I've never even heard of a third person like horror game. But now that I think of it,
that'd be interesting.
It's an interesting like game design challenge. I actually do have an idea for a horror game, but I am the biggest scaredy cat that I'm literally scared to develop it myself.
Like, you know what's coming, and
I know how I program the mechanics. I know how to like really draw it out and whatnot. But I sit here thinking about like what the scares would be, and it's terrifying. I should still build a vertical slice of it and release a trailer just to see if people like it, because the whole premise of the game came up because Markiplier listed his fears, like what he's the most scared of, and I was like, I have the perfect game for you, Mark. So it's kind of an ode to Markiplier as well.
I googled third-person horror games. They're all third-person shooters, so that's like that's the get around. You're still kind of in a closer proximity perspective. Like what was one I saw? Resident Evil. Yeah, a good example. Dead Space, good example. So
yeah,
that's
Dead
kind
Space.
Of the. You'd have to kind of do a. I don't know if you could do a 2D or like a side scroller platformer horror game. It'd be hard to scare people unless it's like all of a sudden your entire screen is like some zombie person just like throws in random jump scares at you stuff, you know. But
yeah, like that would be interesting.
I don't know, try it out.
Yeah, try it. If you do it, man, send us a link.
You invent a new genre of video game.
Should make a standalone Phasmophobia style VR game. Oh my gosh. Have you played Phasmophobia, Declan?
No, we talked about playing it. If we got to set some metric.
Gotta get some goal.
We need to start a YouTube channel for this podcast, and then if we get to a certain number of people on that YouTube channel, then we'll play Phasmophobia.
We'll do a live stream of some terrible games.
We'll get a piss camera just in case one of us gets so scared that we pee our pants.
Probably me. I volunteer as tribute. Oh gosh, I hate horror games. Like everyone's like, "Oh, it's spooky season. What horror games do you recommend?" It's like never played any. Like the only horror game I didn't even play. I watched a walkthrough of it, and even then, I was like watching it with like no sound. Is the PT Silent Hill that they released way back when? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, that thing is terrifying. But, woo.
People are asking where's a channel that we could post, or they could post things. Should we make a Discord server for podcasts?
Yeah, you guys could throw it into the Garett the Gamer podcast, or Garett the Gamer podcast, Garett the Gamer Discord for now. I have a game recommendations channel in there, I think. Let me double check. If not, I'll make one right now, where people could like show off your own stuff. I have a whole section of like care to share in the Garett the Gamer server where you could share games and video ideas and whatnot. I'll make another one that's like what do you call it? Game recommendations.
Garrett's gonna have like 5 billion Discord servers.
Don't even get me started. I run so many social media accounts and whatnot. It's like,
that's awesome though.
It's turning into a whole other side of things. A lot of people have found out that I'm running the Cactus Jam VR stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know you were doing that. That's cool.
Yeah, Continue and I are working together again because we have a lot of like, there's like a lot of just like tedious work we need done on the art side for sale and for hard drive. Yeah. And so I was talking to Continuum and they were like, yo, we'll do a little trade agreement. So it's been working out good. They're an awesome team. So you guys should go check out their games.
Yeah, somebody has to save Monkey Doom, man. Their social media is pretty.
That one makes me so sad. It makes me so
you
sad.
Worked hard on that.
I rose that one from the ground up, and then it was just they took over, and I feel bad because like I got it to like 30,000 subscribers so fast.
Yeah.
Ugh.
For those of you who don't know, I worked at Continuum. I was their first employee, and I started their AR side of things, and then we kind of went separate ways when they pivoted to doing more of a VR studio route. I wasn't super interested in converting over to that, and I'm kind of staying in the AR side of the thing. So an interesting tidbit, Monkey Do is a college project that I worked on when I was in my second year of VR studies at BYU. So the kind of idea for Monkey See, Monkey Do is based off of a game that I made called Monkey See, Monkey Poo in like 2019, I want to say.
Yeah, it was right
before
COVID. 2019.
So I made a demo of a game where your monkeys throwing poop at each other in 2019. So anybody that says Monkey Do is a clone of Gorilla Tag is wrong.
Declan built the game before even that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our podcast day.
Cool.
Never know how to outro
Thanks,
these
guys.
things. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us.
More legit.
We're figuring this out. This is only episode 3. We can be excused.
Yeah.
It was still fun.
And make sure you please get on like, I don't know, Apple and Spotify and Amazon. Just even if you're not going to listen to the podcast, just follow it. It helps us out a lot. So.
Yeah. Links in the description. Go check it out. It's available on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So we post those the day after the live stream. So if you want to listen to it later, or if you're late to the party, you can come by and listen to it there. But we're going to keep doing this because, I mean, this is what Declan and I talk about anyway whenever we catch up. So might as well talk about it here with everyone else.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet, guys. Well, that's all from us. Go follow us on all the podcast platforms. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.
See ya.